The sun hung high in the sky, casting warm rays over the blooming garden next door. I could hear the cheerful buzz of bees and the sweet songs of birds. It was a perfect spring day, and I never expected that it would change everything. That's when I first saw Mia, my neighbor's daughter, kneeling among a sea of vibrant flowers. Her laughter rang out like music as she brushed her hands through the petals. I could feel the pull of her energy from where I stood, a curiosity stirring within me. "Mia!" I called out, feeling a strange excitement. "What are you planting today?" She looked up, her green eyes sparkling with delight. "Just some daisies. They remind me of sunshine." I smiled, stepping further into her garden. They do have a way of brightening a day, don't they? As we talked, I found myself drawn to her passion. It was refreshing, like a cool breeze on a hot summer's day. I knew I was a married man, yet it felt exhilarating to connect with someone so alive. Why did I feel this spark? What was it about her that ignited something deep inside me? We shared stories, laughter spilling into the air like confetti. "You should see my mom's garden," she said, her face lighting up with enthusiasm. "It's full of all kinds of flowers. She says each one tells a story." "What about your story, Mia?" I asked, my heart racing just a little. "What story do you want to tell?" She paused, her gaze drifting to the flowers. "I want to travel the world and see all the gardens. Each one is special, just like people. Don't you think?" I nodded, feeling a strange weight in my chest. "Yes, but life can be complicated. Sometimes we forget to chase our dreams." As we spoke, I could sense an underlying tension. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. There was something in the way she looked at me that made my heart flutter. Was it wrong to feel this way? I tried to push the thought away, reminding myself of Clara and the life we had built together. But every moment spent with Mia felt like a secret I wanted to keep. "Do you ever wish things were different?" she asked, her voice soft. The question lingered in the air like a sweet perfume, and I hesitated. "Sometimes," I admitted reluctantly. "But it's important to honor commitments." "Right," she said, her smile fading slightly. "But what if those commitments stifle you?" Before I could respond, I noticed a butterfly flitting by, its wings shimmering in the sunlight. I watched it dance around us, a symbol of freedom. Suddenly, I felt the weight of my own choices pressing down on me. Was I stifled? I had always thought I was content, but being with Mia brought a new light into my life that I hadn't realized I was missing. As I left her garden, my heart raced. The innocent meeting had awakened something deep within me, something I couldn't ignore. I glanced back at her, still surrounded by flowers, and for a brief moment, our eyes locked. I could see a spark in hers too, a silent understanding that we were both caught in something beyond our control. What would happen if I let this feeling grow? Could I risk everything for a moment of happiness? The questions swirled in my mind, like the petals dancing in the wind. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the chaos inside me. But I knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning. As the weeks passed, my encounters with Mia took on a different air. What started as friendly chats in her garden slowly transformed into something more intense. Every smile, every laugh we shared felt electric, as if we were both aware of the tension hanging between us. It was like walking a tightrope, balancing on the edge of something thrilling, yet dangerous. One sunny afternoon, I found myself at the garden gate again. Mia was tending to her flowers, her hands gently brushing against the petals. The sight was beautiful, and I felt a familiar flutter in my chest. She looked up and smiled, a radiant smile that seemed to light up the whole garden. "Hey there, neighbor. Want to help me pick some flowers for the dinner party tonight?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Sure, I'd love to." I replied, trying to sound casual, but my heart raced. I walked over, trying to focus on the task at hand, but my thoughts kept drifting to how much I enjoyed these moments with her. As we picked flowers, our hands brushed against each other, sending shivers down my spine. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks as I stole glances at her. "You know, you have such a way with these flowers," I said, trying to keep the conversation light. "It's like they bloom brighter when you're around." She chuckled softly, the sound like music to my ears. "Thanks, I love being out here. It's my little escape, but I think it's the company that makes it special." I felt a rush of warmth at her words. I feel the same way. It's nice to have someone to share the beauty with. But as I spoke, I couldn't ignore the guilt creeping in. I was married to Clara. How could I be feeling this way about someone else? Later that week, Mia invited me to a small gathering at her house. "It will just be a few friends, and I'd love for you to come," she said, her voice hopeful. I hesitated, knowing that stepping into her world meant stepping away from the life I had built with Clara. "I'm not sure if I can. Clara might—" I started, but Mia interrupted. "Come on, it will be fun. Just think of it as a friendly get-together," she urged, her eyes pleading. I felt torn. I wanted to see her, to feel that spark again, but the thought of Clara's face haunted me. Finally, I nodded, though my heart sank. "Okay, I'll come, but just for a little while." The night of the gathering arrived, and I felt a mix of excitement and dread. As I walked into Mia's home, the atmosphere was warm and inviting. Laughter filled the air, and I was quickly swept into conversations. But my gaze kept drifting to Mia. She looked stunning, her laughter resonating with joy. I felt an overwhelming urge to be closer to her. As the evening wore on, the tension grew thicker. We found ourselves alone on the patio, the soft glow of fairy lights surrounding us. "I'm glad you came," she said softly, leaning closer. "It feels different when you're here." I swallowed hard, the weight of my choices pressing on me. "Mia, I began, but the words caught in my throat. I could feel my heart racing, the thrill of being so close to her mingling with the guilt I carried. "I know this is complicated," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't help how I feel about you." Her words hung in the air, and I felt a rush of emotions. "Mia, I'm married. I have a life with Clara," I replied, the reality of my situation crashing down on me. "This feels wrong." "But what if it feels right?" she asked, her eyes searching mine, filled with a mix of hope and longing. "What if we could just explore this?" I felt my heart race, torn between the thrill of her words and the loyalty I owed to Clara. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my thoughts. "I don't know if I can. I want to, but—" The moment hung heavy between us, filled with unspoken desires and fears. I knew I was at a crossroads, and the choices I made next would change everything. The tension crackled in the air, and I felt the weight of my decision pressing down on me. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over Mia's backyard as I sat by the poolside, my heart racing. The air was thick with anticipation, and I could feel the tension between us growing stronger. We had spent countless afternoons together, sharing laughter and stories, but today felt different. Today, there was an unspoken truth waiting to spill out. Mia dipped her toes into the water, creating ripples that danced across the surface. She looked over at me, her eyes sparkling with something I couldn't quite name. "You know," she said softly, "I sometimes wonder what it would be like to live without holding back." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to sound casual, even though my heart was pounding in my chest. She hesitated, biting her lip, as if deciding how much to reveal. "I mean, this life we lead." It can feel so confining, like we're trapped in our own choices. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but the intensity of her gaze made my heart skip. I wanted to respond, to tell her that I understood more than she realized, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I focused on the water, letting the coolness of the pool wash over my thoughts. But Mia wasn't done. She shifted closer to me, her voice almost trembling. "You don't have to live this life you don't want." Her confession hit me like a bolt of lightning. The weight of my commitment to Clara pressed down on me, but the yearning for something more, something vibrant, tugged at my heart. "Mia," I started, but I didn't know how to finish. The truth was too complicated, too painful to articulate. She leaned closer, searching my eyes. "I see how you light up when you're with me. I see the way you laugh, how you forget everything else for just a moment. Can't you feel it too?" I closed my eyes, overwhelmed by the flood of emotions. Memories of Clara rushed through my mind. Her unwavering support during hard times, the comfort of our shared life. But the thought of a life filled with passion and excitement, like the one Mia offered, made my heart ache. "Mia, I can't just throw everything away," I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Clara has been there for me. She deserves my loyalty." Mia's expression faltered, and for a moment, I saw the hurt in her eyes. "But what about what you want? What about your happiness?" I felt a knot form in my stomach. "I don't know if I can separate my happiness from Clara's. She's my wife, Mia." I made a promise. "Promises can be broken, you know," she said, her voice steady, but filled with an edge of sadness. "Doesn't it matter that you feel trapped? That you're living a life that isn't truly yours?" Her words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning. I felt the pull of two worlds, each calling me in different directions. What if I choose you, and it all falls apart? What if I hurt Clara beyond repair? Mia reached out, placing her hand gently on mine. The warmth of her touch ignited a fire inside me, a longing I had tried to suppress. Sometimes, you have to take risks. Sometimes, you have to fight for what feels right. I pulled my hand away, struggling to breathe. The reality of my situation crashed down around me. It wasn't just about my feelings. It was about the lives intertwined with mine. Clara's innocence flashed before me, a painful reminder of the love I once felt. "Maybe I'm not ready for this, Mia," I said, my voice shaking. "Maybe I'm just too scared to embrace what you're offering." She sighed, her dreamlike aura dimming for a moment. "I get it. You're scared. But this moment, it's a turning point. You have to face your desires and the consequences of your choices." As I looked into her eyes, I knew she was right. This was a moment that could change everything. But the fear of what lay ahead held me back. I felt torn between loyalty and desire, between safety and the unknown. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the pool, mirroring the darkness that was settling in my heart. I took a deep breath, knowing this was just the beginning of a journey that would force me to confront everything I had been avoiding. As I spent more time with Mia, our connection grew stronger, yet so did my guilt. Every stolen moment felt like both a blessing and a curse. I often found myself sitting in my car outside her house, staring at the door, wrestling with my emotions. The joy of being with her was intoxicating, but the weight of my conscience felt heavier each day. One sunny afternoon, I found Mia in her garden again, her hands deep in the soil as she tended to her flowers. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming jasmine. I walked over, my heart racing, and she looked up with a bright smile that lit up her face. "Hey, want to help me plant these?" she asked, holding out a small pot of vibrant marigolds. I hesitated, the thought of Clara creeping into my mind. I should probably head home. Clara might be waiting for me, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Mia's smile faltered, and I could see the disappointment in her eyes. You can't keep doing this, you know. We can't pretend there's nothing between us. I felt a pang of guilt. It's not that simple, Mia. I have a life, a family. But is it the life you want? She pressed, her gaze steady and challenging. You deserve to be happy, don't you? Her words echoed in my mind. I wanted to be happy, but at what cost? I took a deep breath, trying to push the turmoil aside. I just don't want to hurt anyone. Mia stepped closer, her voice softening. You're already hurting yourself by holding back. It's okay to want something more. As I looked into her eyes, I felt my resolve waver. I know, I admitted, my voice cracking. But I love Clara. She's always been there for me. Mia's expression turned serious. And what about your happiness? Doesn't that matter too? In that moment, I felt trapped between two worlds. The joy I felt with Mia was undeniable, but the thought of betraying Clara made my stomach churn. I knew Clara was innocent in all of this, and it broke my heart to think of the pain I could cause her. Can't we just take things slow? I suggested, desperately trying to find a middle ground. I need time to figure this out. Mia nodded slowly, but I could see the sadness creeping back into her eyes. I understand, but I don't want to wait forever. I want to know where we stand. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I wish things were different. I wish I could be honest with you and with myself. Why can't you? She asked, frustration creeping into her voice. Why do you let fear hold you back? Her words struck a nerve. I had been so consumed by my fears of hurting Clara that I hadn't considered the toll it was taking on me. The excitement of being with Mia felt like a breath of fresh air, yet the shadow of my marriage loomed over me. I just don't want to lose everything, I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. Mia stepped back, her disappointment palpable. You're already losing yourself, she replied, her voice trembling. You're torn apart inside, and I can see it. You deserve to feel free, to be true to your heart. As she walked away, I felt a sharp pang of regret. I was caught in a web of my own making, and the struggle within me was becoming unbearable. I could feel the darkness of guilt wrapping around me tighter each day. Later that evening, I sat on the porch, staring at the stars. Clara came out and joined me, wrapping her arms around my shoulders. You seem distant lately, she said softly. Is everything okay? Yeah, just tired, I lied. I wanted to tell her everything, but the fear of shattering her world held me back. I didn't want to be the one who caused her pain. Just remember, I'm here for you, she said, squeezing my shoulder gently. No matter what. I nodded, but inside, my heart ached. The more I thought about Mia, the more I realized how much I was losing myself in this struggle. I was trapped between the love I felt for Clara and the passion that Mia ignited within me. As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was living a lie. The tension was suffocating, and I knew I had to confront the truth soon. The question loomed large in my mind. Was I willing to risk everything for a fleeting passion? The atmosphere in our home had shifted, and I could feel the tension hanging in the air like a thick fog. Clara had noticed my distant demeanor, and it was only a matter of time before she confronted me. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, she finally spoke up. Is something bothering you? She asked, her voice soft yet firm. I could see the concern etched on her face, and it broke my heart a little more. What do you mean? I replied, trying to sound casual while my heart raced. You are not yourself lately. You seem distant. Is there someone else? She probed, her eyes searching mine for the truth. I felt a wave of guilt crash over me. The question hung between us like a thundercloud, heavy and charged. Clara, no. It's just work. You know how it is, I lied, feeling the words stick in my throat. I could not bring myself to reveal the truth, the reality of Mia, and the feelings I had developed for her. Please, don't lie to me. I can feel it. If there's something wrong, I need you to tell me, she insisted, her voice trembling slightly. I took a deep breath, knowing that I was standing at a precipice. I could either confess everything and face the consequences, or continue to hide behind a mask of normalcy. But the weight of my silence was becoming unbearable. Clara, I started, but I paused, the words caught in my throat. I thought of Mia and the way her laughter filled my world with light, but I also thought of Clara's unwavering support and love. Just tell me, Clara said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I deserve to know the truth. I stood there, frozen, torn between the two lives that now felt so far apart. I could see the way her hands trembled slightly, a sign that she was barely holding it together. Okay, I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. I have feelings for someone else. The confession hung in the air, and I watched as Clara's face fell. The hurt in her eyes pierced me deeply. Who is she? Mia, the girl next door, I admitted, feeling the weight of my betrayal crash down on me. We've been spending time together, and I feel a connection. It's complicated. Her expression shifted from shock to anger. Complicated? You are married. How could you do this to me? I know, and I'm so sorry, I said, my heart racing as I tried to explain. I never meant for it to happen. It just did. Did you ever think about how this would hurt me? How it would tear our family apart? Clara's voice quivered with emotion. I didn't want it to come to this, I said, feeling the tears welling in my eyes. I've been struggling with my feelings, and I didn't know how to handle it. Clara took a step back, her expression a mix of disbelief and sorrow. And what do you plan to do now? Do you want to be with her? I felt the weight of her question pressing down on me. I don't know. I'm lost, Clara. I feel trapped between my responsibilities and my desires. Her eyes narrowed, revealing the hurt that was now transforming into anger. You need to make a choice. You can't keep living like this and expect everything to be fine. In that moment, I realized the truth. I had to confront my own feelings, not just for Mia, but for Clara too. I need some time to think, I said, my voice shaky as I turned away, unable to meet her gaze. As I walked out into the cool evening air, I felt the weight of my choices crashing down on me. The stars twinkled above, indifferent to my turmoil. I knew that I had to decide. The path I chose would not only affect my future, but would also change the lives of those I loved. I stood there, battling the storm within me. Did I want to risk everything for a fleeting passion, or was it time to embrace the love that had been unwavering? The choice lay heavy on my heart, and I could only hope that in the end, I would find clarity amidst the chaos. As I sat on the edge of my bed, the weight of my decision pressed heavily on my chest. The room felt both familiar and foreign. A space that held years of memories with Clara, yet now it seemed like a prison. I took a deep breath, my mind racing with thoughts of Mia. I could still hear her laughter, the way her eyes sparkled when she spoke of her dreams. But I knew what I had to do. Clara, I finally said, breaking the silence that hung in the air. She looked up from her book, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern. We need to talk. Her brow furrowed as she placed the book down. What's wrong? You look serious. I've been thinking a lot about us, About everything, I replied, my voice shaky. I feel like I've been drifting away. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to me either. Clara's eyes widened, and I could see the worry settle in. Are you saying you want to end things? I thought we were working through our problems. I shook my head, feeling the sting of guilt wash over me. It's not about wanting to end things. It's about being honest. I've been seeing someone else. I didn't mean for it to happen, but I can't keep lying to you. Her face went pale, and she looked away, trying to process my words. Who is she? Is it that girl next door, Mia? I nodded, my heart racing. Yes, it's Mia. But I never wanted to hurt you. I've realized that I need to be true to myself, and that means I can't continue this way. Clara's voice trembled as she spoke. How could you do this to me? I thought we had something real. I thought you loved me. I do love you, I insisted, desperation rising in my tone. But love isn't just about feelings. It's about commitment and respect. And I haven't been fair to you. I can't keep pretending everything is okay when it's not. Tears filled her eyes, and my heart broke at the sight. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her, but I knew that would only deepen the betrayal. I don't know what to say, she whispered, her voice cracking. I thought we were happy. We had good times, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. But lately, I felt lost. And Mia, she brought something back to my life that I thought was gone. But I can't choose her over you. It's not right. Clara wiped her tears, anger flaring in her eyes. So, you think walking away from her will fix everything? You think that will make this easier for me? I'm not walking away from you to fix things, I said, my heart pounding. I'm doing it because you deserve more than a man who is torn between two worlds. You deserve someone who is completely committed to you. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Clara stared at me, her expression shifting between hurt and disbelief. What will you do now? She finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to talk to Mia. I need to end things with her too. I can't keep living this lie. It's not fair to anyone, I replied, my stomach twisting at the thought of facing Mia. I need to be honest with her. I hope you know what you're doing, Clara said softly. This is going to hurt us both. I know, I admitted, the weight of my choices pressing down on me. But I believe it's the right thing to do. Love is not just about passion. It's about integrity and respect. I can't take that from either of you. As I stood up to leave, Clara reached for my hand. Just be careful, okay? I don't want to lose you completely. I won't let that happen, I promised, though I felt the distance between us widen with each passing second. I walked out of the room, my heart heavy with the knowledge that I was about to change everything. I took a deep breath as I approached Mia's house. The sun was setting, casting long shadows on the ground. I could still hear her laughter echoing in my mind, and for a moment, I hesitated. But I knew I had to face her. I had to be honest, even if it meant breaking both our hearts. As I knocked on the door, I felt a mix of dread and relief. I was ready to embrace the responsibility of my choices. No matter the outcome, I needed to be true to myself and to Clara. This was the only way forward. Share this story if you believe that honesty is the first step in any relationship, no matter how painful. Leave a comment about a time when you had to make a tough choice for love, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories like this one.